Should I buy one? I had no money, minus 1,500 in my overdraft, just finished uni, and I thought, you know what I'm going to do? Buy a flower.
As you do. And I was like, wow, this person is really about to steal under my nose.
No. Hi everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Coffee Shop Podcast.
I can't believe we're back for episode number 2.
I can't believe it. I feel more nervous this time than I did last time. I don't know why.
I know. I think because we were quite happy with the outcome of the first one, weren't we? And I think now we're a bit like, oh, what if we don't like number 2? And we've never done it before.
But everyone's been so lovely. Like,
yeah.
I didn't even expect the amount of people who've messaged us saying.
No, 100%.
And earlier this week we wanted to quit again because we tried to video this, and what happened?
No, we've had a bad week.
A bad week.
Like, how many meltdowns?
It just doesn't seem to be working for us. Every time we'll get to the end and we'll be like, yeah, that was really good. And then it hasn't recorded, or it's recorded so for not me. And we're like...
Yeah, so we were here the other night, weren't we, for what?
Six hours.
And literally, by the time we stopped recording, I mean, for two people that can talk a lot, we were talked out.
We were silent.
We were just like, but we drove home together, didn't we? And we just literally hardly said 2 words to each other. But basically, yeah, like Elise said, it had been picking up on one microphone and not on the other.
We're not sure if I'm just too quiet though, speaking.
I think I'm just the gobby one.
We love it.
But no, in all seriousness, we have had so many like lovely messages, haven't we? Like, we can't really believe how many people.
And everyone who's subscribed and downloaded on Spotify and YouTube, honestly, it means the world. If you could do that, if you haven't, just go on our page and you'll be able to find our links on there.
And even people on Spotify that were like turning on the like their alert, so like it notifies them when we like drop another episode.
Yeah.
We were just like, as if people are actually doing that for us. For us two girls.
I know, it's not as though we were like to every single one of our friends, every person we know, their dogs, their cats, download it.
I was actually saying to the guys at work the other day, one of them was like, oh, if you like keep listening to it on repeat, do the views and the listeners go up? And I was like, probably. The first 500 are probably just from me and Elise, literally. But no, like obviously, like you said, like just a huge thank you, really, because this is obviously just us two having a little practice with our dream, and the fact that people have actually tuned in and watched or listened just means a lot, doesn't it, really?
Absolutely. So thank you so much. It means well.
And like we keep saying, we're learning on the job, literally. So we remembered from the first episode that we didn't really mention our email or like our handle, like our social media handles. So we're going to make sure that moving forward, we always pop them in the description box. That's right, isn't it?
Yeah.
So we'll put our email address and then Instagram and TikTok. So then whenever we sort of say, you know, like if people want to get in touch with anything, like topics or, you know, questions that you might have about the episodes, they're going to be the best ways to get hold of us.
Yeah, and if you have anything that you want us to talk about, that's where you can find us and just pop us.
We had a bit of a milestone this week, didn't we? Because somebody actually did. But two milestones for me. The first one was somebody messaged our Instagram, didn't they? And basically it was a really, really lovely message, and they sort of said that they're in the really early stages of their own sort of like business, and basically just said like how much they could relate to it, and they picked out a few like specific points, didn't they? And they were just like, you know, we're so excited for what's to come, as they think it's going to be really beneficial. And I think for me that was when it really hit home that I was a bit like,
this is relatable to other people.
And people are really tuning in. Yeah, like tuning in, exactly.
Because the quote at the end of our podcast, so it was like, well, you have listened at the end. You didn't just turn it on and turn it off.
So that was one milestone. And then the second thing was, you literally mentioned it this morning, that we had somebody message in with something they'd like us to discuss, or like how we sort of went about something.
Really, so it's someone else who had their own business, and they just wanted to know if we discuss some topics, and that is absolutely what we're here to do.
And we just couldn't believe it. People are actually getting involved with us.
Yeah, that's what we want, really, isn't it? Even if it's just a few people, that's what we want.
It really is.
We're going to continue the podcast with a little 5-minute dive into each of our businesses and how we started, and some of the issues that came about when we did start, really, aren't we?
We said like a 5-minute fire,
didn't
we?
Literally.
So you're gonna...
No, you go first.
I knew we'd have this problem. No, the little event's going to be exciting.
No, it isn't. Right. I'll go
reason.
first.
Okay.
All right then. I'll take it.
If I have to.
So the little events company, how it started, was a bit of a whim, really. I don't really know where the idea came from. I just enjoyed doing parties myself, and for every birthday from when I can remember, I think it was like my 16th, I would decorate the garden with my mum and dad and put banners and balloons and stuff out, and I just really enjoyed it. And it was coming up my birthday. And I was
you have a summer birthday as well,
a summer birthday, so August baby, Leo.
Time of the year.
I think that says it all, doesn't it? Really, a Leo, yeah, need to go all out. And I can remember I was thinking, am I going to hire a flower wall or should I buy one? I had no money, minus 1,500 in my overdraft. Just finished uni, and I thought, you know what I'm going to do? Buy a flower wall. As you do. I don't know what was going through this head of mine, but I invested in one, and I thought I can use it for my birthday, and then I can hire it out as well.
Yeah.
So that's what we did. It's a bit
like a businesswoman.
I don't think so. I just think I thought a bit on the side, a bit of pocket money. Bit of pocket money.
We love a side hustle.
I was working in Next at the time, so I just thought I'd be a bit of money on the side, and yeah, and then from that I made a page to hire out this flower wall, and everyone loved it, and I was like, okay.
Oh my gosh.
I know. So that really ran from there, really.
That's crazy, though. Also, basically, the motto of the little events company is that it all started with a flower wall.
Yeah, literally one flower wall turned into another flower wall, turned into a donut wall, turned into a... But yeah, I just invested what I made straight back into it, and obviously with my money from Next, that's what I lived on.
Yeah.
It was hard.
So it was a side hustle, literally.
Yeah, literally. It was really hard because you just want to take the money, every bit of money that you get, and spend it.
Yeah.
You're just like, woo! But
it's like always exciting to see that first bit of money.
And obviously coming from uni when you've got nothing, and you're putting your money on beans on toast for the week or whatever, and then you're like getting this.
Yeah.
But no, I couldn't do it. I don't think I even took anything out for about two years.
So how you were doing it then? So it was sort of like hiring out the flower wall, and then with the money you made from that event, then saving that up and then putting it into eventually like a new piece of equipment, essentially.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That was it, really. And then built it up from there. Try to get as big of a following as I could on social media. Everyone loves Instagram now, don't they? They're all about the parties and things. So
I think it's like so true, especially in your industry. It's like if it looks good for Instagram, then you know, fingers crossed, it's going to be successful.
Yeah, and everyone, well, hopefully I can say everyone's always said good things.
Yeah, and your photos and stuff that you put on your Instagram are so good.
I just love doing it. I think it makes a difference, but the only thing I find hard is that I build up a lot of anxiety around it. So if something's not exactly how I want it, or in my head I'm like, that's not perfect. But
I do think I was just going to say, I think your personality trait, you are such a perfectionist with everything. Yeah. Like I remember someone said to me once, and I can't remember, I think it might have even been when I used to work in marketing, that it was like, you're either like a perfectionist or you're like an 80% type of person. So where you'll put it out and you might be 80% secure with it in your mind. And you're like, do you know what? Yeah, I'm 80% happy with that. And you put it out, and that other 20% is like because you're like, do you know what? I just need to put something out.
Yeah.
But with you, like obviously you're such a perfectionist. If that isn't 100% in your mind, like you don't post it.
Yeah.
And I think I'm definitely like that 80% type of person where I'm like, do you know what? It's probably not the best, but it'll do. Like I'm definitely like it'll do type of girl.
Do.
And you're like 100%. It's perfect or nothing.
It eats away at me. I don't know what it is, but I know it shouldn't. And I think I have got better at it over time.
In your industry to be a perfectionist. I think if I was booking somebody to do, like, you also do people's weddings, like you do like proposals, you do people's, some of their most important days of their lives. I would feel so much more confident working with somebody in your sort of line of work, thinking, well, she's a perfectionist, she's not going to let this not be perfect. Like people trust that your vision is literally, you know,
the vision. That's you always hype me up, don't you? She always knows the things to say. So that's what bothers me, because in my head, because I have to have everything perfect, it does in the job get a bit draining and things. But
I suppose it's hard as well if, you know, it's already very time consuming, but if you're making sure every single element is literally as perfect as it can be, sort of thing.
Like that's it really. But that's how it got started, and yeah, I love it. And we're obviously gonna, as we go along, we'll touch in a bit more.
Yeah, but yeah, we just sort of thought how we got
introduction.
started.
Yeah,
it's quite important, isn't it?
Yeah. Do you want to go with how you started?
Okay, I mean, mine's never as exciting as yours.
Well, that wasn't really exciting. Oh, I finished uni and I bought a flower wall.
It's exciting how like the flower wall then grew and grew to like having over 10,000 followers on Instagram, and you know, all
it was the balloons for me. When I started doing the balloons, it took me about 12 hours, maybe even longer, with this handheld pump in my room. I was going for hours, and it was absolutely shocking.
What do you like a YouTube?
Yeah, like, YouTube
DIY balloon garland.
It was shocking, but I was so proud of it. I was like, oh, this is amazing. I'm so happy.
But now you must look back and think like you have grown so much.
If you go on my Instagram and you scroll down from like then till now, it's quite mad to see the change, but it's good, it's rewarding.
Yeah, it's like your Instagram's like a bit of a portfolio, I suppose, for like how you've grown. And
exactly.
And it is exciting.
But you go for it, so tell us how you started.
Right, the floor is mine.
The floor is yours.
How long
She's like, okay, I'm here. I'm ready.
No, I am one of the people though, and you have to stop me. Like, you know where there's that meme on Facebook and it's like there's the story, there's the like start and the end of the story, and then there's like the way my friend tells the story, and it's like a maze. Like, that is me, so please like keep me on track. Time me 5 minutes.
Right, okay.
Okay, so literally we're going back to the middle of COVID times. I had a really stable, secure job in marketing. I was doing social media and PR marketing for a firm based in York, but they're like a national company, so they had like stores everywhere, and I worked in their head offices, which obviously is in York. Really, really enjoyed it. But I think inside I knew the office life wasn't what I wanted to do long term.
You were born to be a star.
Naming lights. No. I just think, like I said, I did enjoy the job, but every day I would clock on at like 8 o'clock and it would be me and my laptop or me and my computer. And that was fine for a while. But as I got more and more into it, I just thought I felt drained. The end of the day would come, and you know, I'd had a few conversations, nothing crazy. You know, it wasn't the liveliest of office environments. I'm sure there's some lovely environments that you can work in an office and it doesn't feel like draining. But just for me, I just felt drained and I wasn't being 100% who I was. So I sort of knew I had a bit of a decision to make, where I either stayed in the marketing route but looked at something different, you know, maybe even go back into our journalism days. I wasn't sure, but I think I knew if I was doing that, realistically I was probably going to have to move away. And I left home for a little while straight after uni. I went and did an internship.
You went to New York, didn't you?
I did. Name drop. New York girl over here.
Girl.
I'm a New York girl.
We were so jealous.
So I did that straight from, we graduated in the summer, didn't we? So from the August I went and did that. So I lived away from home for about 4 months. I loved it. Like, best experience of my life. But I always knew it wasn't forever. So I totally just made the most of it. But when I came home, I was like, I'm ready to be at home now. So I think I knew when I was thinking about what I wanted to do in the future, I was a bit like, I don't want to move away again. You know, I have like my family, my friends, a boyfriend. I was like, okay.
The perks of doing this in a city centre, we will get some background noise. But sorry about that.
So very long story short, I sort of had made the decision I wanted to be self-employed, and I also decided I was going to go completely away from marketing and journalism and hopefully get my own coffee shop. The vibe at the time was definitely a coffee shop where I could make my own cakes and sell them. Little did I know, I would literally have zero time, especially not to make a cake. I literally struggled to have time. At the minute, I'm so overwhelmed with time. I think it'll be really, really good to touch on that, because that is one of the biggest things I struggle with, is just the balance of it all. And I know you're the same. I think it is so hard.
Yeah,
it's so flipping hard to manage to do it all. But yeah, see, that's what I mean. I'm going to be telling you what I had for tea last night in a second. So at first, it was hard to get my mum and dad on board. I think, you know, they liked that I was in a stable job, you know, doing a little bit of what I'd done at uni with it as well. And then I think eventually, like, even my mum sort of was like, you know, you're not yourself. Like, I used to cry to her. I'd be like, I'm not, like, I don't enjoy going and sitting in an office, you know. I wasn't enjoying it. And anyway, one day I was at the office I was working, and my dad sent me a link, and it was like a UK businesses for sale link. So obviously, like, it came from my phone, clicked it straight away. I was like, oh my God, what's this? And it was the link to this coffee shop. Then I was like, okay, well, if my dad's maybe taking me a bit more serious here. And it was really just because I wanted their support. Like, you know, starting a business is a lot and you need support around you. And I was like, I couldn't really just think, I'm going to go and do this by myself. You know, I needed that. I don't know, maybe I was just a little bit nervous to just go off and do it. I was always like, I want them to support me and think I'm doing the right thing. So anyway, I remember literally fast forward maybe a week, it wasn't long at all, and me and my dad came to view this coffee shop. And the funny thing is, when we left, obviously I was just so desperate. I was like, you know, they're taking me serious. This could be like my way in. I need it. And we got back in the car, and I said to my dad, I was like, you know, Dad, it wouldn't need any work doing. I'd be able to get them keys tomorrow and open it. And literally sitting in here now, this is like a new place. You would not believe
full
the difference.
refurb.
I bet my dad in his head was thinking, yeah, on what planet, Sophie? So yeah, obviously for me, the unnerving and like the scary thing was it was middle of COVID. So the job I was working at, they were really, really understanding. And obviously we sort of were working from home for a while. So I sort of handed in my notice in the January, but I kept working for them Monday to Friday up until the March. So how it started was obviously lockdown. The coffee shop wasn't even able, like, you know, it was illegal for it to open, which was good because it meant I could do a lot of work internally. And I like started my social media, and I like did all my like courses actually. Like obviously this has an alcohol license, so I had to do all of that, you know. And I didn't have a clue.
Yeah,
I didn't
stuff
have
you don't think
years.
about, is it really?
Absolutely. So in a way, it worked well that I had that little bit more time to do all of that. So I started officially doing takeaway from the door because takeaway was allowed to happen. So this is back when I think you were able to do like your hour's walk a day or like your hour of exercise a day. So literally from the front door, I had one table about the size of our table that we do the podcast from, and like 4 different homemade cakes. So I'd work from home Monday to Friday, and I'd clock off on a Friday. I'd make my cakes, and then a Saturday morning,
Mary Berry.
My alarm would go off. Poor Hollywood. My alarm would go off, and I'd get all my cakes in the car, and I'd come, and all I had in the coffee shop was my coffee machine. We'd had that installed really, really early on. So, like, bless my family, really. I had, like, my sister here one day, then it'd be my auntie, my mum. Like, obviously, you know, I didn't have any members of staff. It was just me, really. And we would just sell whatever we could from the door. And then with the money I was making from that day, I would then buy all my ingredients on the Monday, again, ready to bake again on Friday. So for about the first probably 6 weeks, it was that. And like I said, it worked well, really, because it meant, you know, I've got a garden and stuff. So it meant I was able to get all of that ready, because obviously then gardens were the first thing that were allowed to reopen, like your beer gardens. So obviously then invested in garden furniture. That was the first bit of furniture I invested in, because it was my dad that said to me, it's funny because I had all these Pinterest boards, and I literally would take my laptop to my dad and I'd be like, you know, I really want to do it like this. And he would always be a bit like, it's good to have a vision of the end goal, but you need to prioritise. So he
Don't get ahead of yourself.
Yes, he was a bit like, you know, focus at the beginning, like for now, on the garden. He said, because gardens, I think we'd maybe been told we're going to be able to reopen. I can't remember what the exact date was. It was about the April, I think. So he was like, you know, you need to think, right, you need to get that garden full.
Yeah.
He said, because then the money you can be making from that garden can then pay for your inside furniture and your chairs and your cushions and all of this and that. So, like I said, I was definitely one of them. I was wanting to run before I could walk. I literally thought I'd walk in here and it would be like the grind in London straight away. A matter of fact is, you know, that was not going to happen. But yeah, like, I was definitely away with the fairies. I always think
even now, we're still not where we want to be. I don't know when we would ever be there, but you're just in your head at the beginning and thinking,
But then I think that's maybe a good way to look at it. Like, you're always progressing, you're always developing, you always think about the next thing. So then, so from the space of me getting the keys at the end of the January to about the May, I want to say, it was a case of obviously opening up slowly at different times, what I was allowed to because of lockdown. So then it did work really well, really, because as we went into the summer, I was ready to go. You know, I'd found my feet a little bit more. I'd built a little bit more confidence. I still didn't have any staff. It was literally just family because I couldn't afford to pay anybody. You know, I couldn't even afford to pay myself anything. So it was important, really, that I had a good summer. And looking back now, I just had no idea. I really had no idea. The funny story, and I was actually telling someone about this today at work, was, so obviously got my garden furniture in, and it was the day the gardens could reopen. So we had people queuing at the door, and behind the counter was my mum and my auntie. The front of the counter was me, and then my dad was in the garden. And he was literally, all my garden furniture, all my garden furniture had come flat packed. So my dad was in the garden, literally screwing like my tables up, like, you know, making them up for me. As he'd got one made, I was lifting him onto the grass, popping the chairs around, and then bringing like a table of 4 in and sitting them down. And I remember like my dad was sweating buckets, literally like the sweat was dripping off his head. And I mean, I was running around like a headless chicken. And my dad handed me the last table, and I put it on the grass, and literally as we put it down, it was filled. So we had no spare tables in the garden.
That must have been so rewarding to look out and see.
Absolutely. And it was my dad. My dad just looked at me and he just went, well, he's like wiping his sweat off his head, and he went, welcome to York. And literally from that moment, I don't think I've come up for breath, to be honest. And that was 2 years ago now. And to be fair, like I just never anticipated. I don't think I was, probably naively, but I was not prepared for the busyness of what York City Centre brings. Obviously, it's amazing, but it's hard and it's tiring. And
here's a good one. What would you say to your younger self? So if you could go back in time and give yourself a little message.
So when I was that person that was collecting the keys.
Yeah.
Say goodbye to your social life. No, I would say just be confident, because you not were made to do this, but you're going to thrive.
Yeah.
And I just think, looking back now, like I said, I was so naive. I was so underwhelmed. Is that the right word? Like, you know, I was not prepared in the slightest. But I just took it all in my stride because I had to. You know, the coffee shop needed to be busy. So it was all a good thing. I mean, I wasn't getting home in that first summer. Literally, I remember I would get back to my mum and dad's about 10:20 on the Saturday night, and I would get my alarm would go off at 5:45 on the Sunday morning to come and do it all again. And honestly, we look back now, and like I said, like, you know, I had my cousin helping me, I had my sister helping me then, and we just say how on earth that we did it for them months straight. I do not know, but I feel like all of that has made me into who I am now and how I am able to do it now.
The good, the bad, the ugly, it all goes somewhere, doesn't it?
It really does. And yeah, looking back, it was all a whirlwind. It really, really was. And it was a crazy journey. And I was so, so lucky to have the family there that were happy to work for nothing for me and literally do all of that, because I wouldn't have been able to do it. I really, really wouldn't. So yeah, it was a bit of an overwhelming experience, but also I learned so much from it.
Yeah. It's amazing, isn't it?
So then fast forward 2 years, and it's literally just been like 2 years. So I'm heading to my 3rd summer now, and I'm really excited to get into it as we grow.
And we're sat here today, and the weather's nice, like York's booming.
Yeah, we've had a really busy Sunday.
Makes you excited.
Yeah, it does. And I'm excited to get into that with everyone on the podcast of how, you know, over time we've both grown with our businesses.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we have. Looking back, we were babies, really.
Yeah, we were. We were only I think I was 20 when I started.
Yeah.
20, yeah.
You were.
20.
I remember.
Oh, God. That is a baby, isn't it?
Yeah, so that's why we thought, like, this is going to be the perfect platform to sort of talk about that, because that is young to start a business. And like I said, we were just both so overwhelmed with everything. We still are, really, aren't we? So
I feel like the only thing I miss is when you're so young, everyone kind of is a bit like, oh, you're still figuring it out.
Yeah.
And you kind of have that excuse. Not meaning clients and things, but family around you and stuff.
100%.
And now they're more like, come on, get it together.
Yeah, you've been doing this for how long?
You're grown now.
Do you know the funny thing
You're
is,
a grown mum.
I actually say this to a lot of people that come in the coffee shop. You know, they'll be like, oh, how long has this been around? Like, oh, how long have you been here? We've never been in before. We walk by all the time. We've never been in. And honestly, I would always be like, you know, just a couple of years. And then I'll go, so I'm still quite new. And I actually joke to, like, the guys that work here. I'm like, I'll have been here 15 years. And I'll go, but I'm still quite new, you know. And I think I do it as a bit of a confidence thing, to be honest, that I never want anybody to think, you know, if they come in and they've not had a good experience, which I'd like to think, you know, they do. Yeah. But that, like, they feel sorry for me. Oh, well, she's only new. Realistically, I've been doing it for years.
She's just started.
Yeah, bless her.
Yes.
Isn't she doing well?
No, that's how it goes.
But yeah, I feel like mine was definitely longer than a quick 5-minute fire.
I expected nothing less. But
No,
do you want to go on to our next topic?
absolutely.
So we thought we were going to take a bit of inspo from one of our favourite podcasts at the minute. On Wednesdays we drink wine. We're obsessed.
It's our favourite at the moment, isn't it?
But we love how they do day confessions and things like that and discuss them. We thought we'd do it a bit about business, so business confessions.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a business confession or something you want us to discuss, then email it over and we will do that.
Yeah, it can be anonymous,
Yeah.
or you can even voice note it and we can play it out on the episode if you would like.
Just
you can
whatever you
DM
like.
it on Instagram. Literally, anyway, like we said, our contact's in the description box. So we really, really want you guys to get involved. So yeah,
And we're going
the
to...
good, the bad, the ugly.
Yeah, we want to know it all. Make it juicy.
Yeah,
We
the
need to know.
juicier the better.
Yeah.
Because we're going to get down with the tea,
Yeah.
spilling our confessions. So we want everyone else to get involved with us, don't we?
To be fair, mine's not really that down with the tea. I just tell everybody, but I just find it so funny.
Yeah, but yours
It's
is
just
funny.
embarrassing.
Are you going to kick it off? Because yours is funny.
Okay, I'll kick it off.
Mine's sad.
Yours is sad. Oh, God. I'm trying to know what
People
this
are
is.
turning
Oh, God. So, one time, I'd just got my van. I'd worked so hard getting it all, it's called revamped? No,
Yeah, you got it like
the
branded.
sign written and
Yeah.
sign writing and things like that. I was over the moon. It was exactly what I wanted and more. And I couldn't park it at all. I reverse parked into this tiny little space, and my God, I was over the moon. I could have jumped for joy in that
You
moment.
can imagine, yeah.
I went in, did my booking, came out. I was like, oh my God, everything's going amazing. And I drove off. I drive quite a bit round the corner, down the street, and I just hear a massive bang. Like, I was like,
Did you
oh
think you'd
my
hit
God.
something?
I thought I'd run something over.
Oh,
And I was like, so I drove over to like get parked. I got out the car, I turn around. Here is my door, my full side door in the middle of the road. I turn around, I go over to pick it up. Somebody drives over it. They don't stop. They must
so
have
were you
been
out
speeding.
of the van at this
I
point?
got out of the van. I went to go pick my door up, and someone they didn't stop or anything. They just sped over this door. I was like,
What, like as if it was a speed bump?
so all you heard
What did you do?
I was in shock. I was just stood there. and
Gobsmacked.
I was gobsmacked. I was like, okay. It must have been about 2 weeks old, this van. Well,
Oh, Dad.
with its sign written. This little man came out of his shop. He wasn't a little man. I don't know why he said that. He was a normal man. He came out of his shop. And he was like, I can't believe that's just happened. And I was like, honestly,
Aw.
don't worry. I was like, this always
Were you
happens to me.
crying?
I'm just the type of person where something like this would
Yeah.
happen. I
You
was
are.
a bit tearful, but I was a bit. It's just expected. I just was like, I knew something like
Yeah.
this would happen. So he was like, I'll help you pick the door up. So I was like, okay. So I was stood on the side of the road. He was like, will you be all right? I was like, don't worry. I had to stand on the side of the road, wait, ring Jason, say, can you come get me? I actually had to ring Jason's friend because Jason wasn't answering and he was at the gym and he worked in the gym. So I rang the gym and I was like, can you go and find him in the
God, I
gym?
bet he thought there was an emergency.
He didn't. He rang. He knew straight away. He said, something's happened with the van. I said, I was like, yeah. Someone's ran over my door. But I couldn't believe it. It was just mortifying. So I had to sit in the back of the van, holding on to this door.
With no door on the
No,
side.
I think that's probably illegal, but yeah, there was no door on the side and I was in the back of the van. I had to get home somehow. And I was just sat there like, oh my goodness. Yeah. It was just jammed on. I had to get someone to weld it on. I've had it like that since it's broke a couple of months ago.
Nice.
Everyone used to say, your door is open. I was like, I know, it's welded on. I know.
Do you not think I can see?
I just used to go. And they were trying to be helpful, but little did they know it was all.
It's just one of them
self-inflicted.
things, though, isn't it, where people say it and you're just a bit like, yes, I know. Thank
Yes,
you so
I
much.
know. It was my fault though. I didn't say this. I forgot to shut the side door, and where I'd had it sprayed, the
What, so
person who
you
sprayed it hadn't
drove
put
off and
the
you'd forgotten to shut it.
yeah,
Right.
but where it had been sprayed, the person who forgot to put the stopper on the side.
So basically, it wasn't your fault.
It wasn't
really.
my fault. Like, accidents
Well,
happen. I didn't know.
Elise is like the queen at these stories, and then she'll be like, but you know, it wasn't my fault because this happened. And sometimes you're just a bit like, Elise, I think we're really clutching at straws now.
I feel like I can always find a way to make it not my fault, no matter what.
Absolutely. When you're telling Jason these things, it's like, you know, but it wasn't
my fault.
No, that is a good confession to start on, though.
Yeah, a bit funny.
You have some funny...
Yours can be juicier if you're sending something in. It might be a juicy story, but just think it's funny. It's embarrassing.
Yeah,
and
we've all been there.
I tell everyone it. I just think how funny that happened.
No, that is a good story to start on, to be fair. But I mean, mine, it's not sad, but it's just not like yours is funny, like because like you laugh with you about it.
Yeah.
Like mine is a bit like, oh god. So basically, as I mentioned in the not 5-minute fire, in the 50-minute fire probably for me, I didn't have any staff for a long time. So when the time came that I officially advertised, I was so nervous. And I remember my mum, because my mum and dad are self-employed, so she sort of has hired a lot of people in the past. She said, you know, you advertise, decide who you would like to see, and if you would like, I'll sit with you. It wasn't really an interview, it was like a really, really informal chat. So this happened, and this one person, obviously mentioned no names, came. I said all the right things, you know. They were literally they were the dream candidate.
I thought you said not mentioning no names, Kane.
Yeah. I'm not going to say their name. Oh, actually,
God, she.
No. So they said all the right things, and it was perfect. I was like, do you know what? I could really see them being my first official member of staff. So no, they came on pretty much full time, and all was well for the first maybe like month or so. But like I said, summer hit me hard. It was crazy busy, and as much as I wasn't prepared, I don't think said person was also prepared. So, you know, I could tell it was a lot. You know, they were doing long hours, stuff like that. Anyway, fast forward a couple of months, and things just got a little bit rocky. You know, I'm a people pleaser. Like there was no like bad blood. You know, like we still got on fine.
Yeah.
But I could tell he didn't really enjoy it. You know, like with this job, there's a lot of it's not glamorous. You know. So anyway, this one day we were really, really busy, and I was a bit like, where are they? Where are they?
Oh God, I'm glad we find ourselves funny.
Other people are going to be thinking, this isn't funny. Like, get to the story, come on. Where's the punchline? So anyway, I was really, really busy behind the counter, and I was like, do you know what? I'm just going to go and have a look. Honestly, side note, always trust your gut, because I mean, I was right. Like, I just had a
I am never wrong.
So anyway, came through the coffee shop, like tried to find them, couldn't find them. But like I said, we were busy, so I didn't really have a choice other than to go back to the counter and just crack on. Literally, I got back to that counter 30 seconds and I thought, no, something is off.
No.
So here I am with my penny, off I go. Anyway.
I like how you actually did the penny.
This is what I mean, the story. Right. So anyway, came back, and basically how the coffee shop is, the stairs downstairs, and I have like a little mini cellar downstairs.
Ooh,
and then
setting
the
scene,
stairs,
the cellar.
And there was this. Oh, sure, if you've got any nude music we could insert here. So then
she went down to the cellar.
And then the stairs upstairs. So the coffee shop is like on the middle floor. Upstairs is like a little storage room. Downstairs we have like toilet area and a little cellar. So anyway, I came to like the middle bit where the stairs are, and as I got to the middle, said employee was heading up the stairs. Do not know why, but I just thought, well, I'm going to follow. Like, there's something going on here. And literally, as I was going up the stairs, I was like, oh, he's got something in his hands. Got to the top of the stairs, and obviously at first he didn't know I was behind him. And anyway, as I got to the top of the stairs, he obviously realised I was behind him. So I was like, well, what's he doing? Like, what's he got? So then he literally just like squatted almost in the middle of the room and dropped a bottle of champagne. So then I was like, okay, well, we hadn't sold any champagne, you know. So I was like, well, what's he doing with this bottle of champagne? And anyway, literally, there's his weekend bag open. And I was like, wow, this person is really about to steal under my nose.
No.
And do not ask me why, because I could not tell you. I didn't say anything. So
Nothing at all?
No. So he obviously got panicky.
God, this is better than an episode of EastEnders. This is.
You don't need to tune in.
I know.
So he obviously got panicky and was like, shit, we'll have to swear on this, aren't we?
Yeah.
And he was a bit like, shit, she's behind me.
I'm not going to tell you. Honest. Go
My
first.
mum's got this. So then he was all like, oh, what do you want, love? What do you want? And again, I didn't say anything. Like, you know, the normal person would say, well, what are you doing with my bottle of champagne?
I want my bottle of champagne.
And I just said, and it had a bit of a frostiness to me. I was a bit like, nothing, I need to get upstairs. And then he was just like, oh, well, I can get it. What do you want? What do you want? And all the time he kept his back to me, obviously trying to like cover like the bottle of champagne. So I was like, nothing, you go down. I can come and get it myself. So then he starts like looking at the shelves and was like, oh, what did I need? What did I need? And you know, and you're like, nothing. You brought my bottle of champagne up to put it in your weekend bag. That's what you've done.
What do you need? Nothing, because I know what you're doing.
Yeah. Which now makes so much sense when I look back, because I do remember he used to bring this big weekend bag in with him every day. And I used to think, like,
So how much?
So this is the thing. So now I look back and I'm so annoyed at myself, because I think, how much stuff has he actually taken? And it is quite sad, really, because I was obviously that naive at the time. You know, I didn't stock check anything. I could not tell you what he took in and out of that door from me. And I was obviously just so young, so naive. I'd never employed anybody
Call him
before.
out, go on, call.
Yeah, so the name is. So anyway, obviously, long story short, that was his last shift. Not because, obviously, I told him not to come back. Like I said, I genuinely, still to this day, we've never had a conversation about it.
What if he's doing this in, like, somewhere else and he just does it till he gets caught?
That is the thing. But again, I was just so unconfident and I was so not sure of myself that I didn't dare.
Yeah.
So anyway, then the following day he was supposed to be in at work. Obviously, I went home that night. I was really upset. I was, you know, the main thing, I wasn't upset that he was trying to take the bottle of champagne, take it. I was upset that I was like, God, I've been such a pushover.
Yeah, and you didn't say anything.
Yeah, and am I a mug? Like, you know, I got home and everyone was like, we should have picked him up on it. Why would you not say anything?
I think when you're young, when you're young, you don't know what to say.
Sophie now, that's done this for 2 years, would stand up for herself and would say, excuse me, like, have we sold a bottle of champagne then? Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
But yeah, the next day he was supposed to be in at work and obviously didn't turn up. And later on that day...
So he must have had a guilty conscience.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd like to think so. I mean, if he has any niceness about it.
Oh, he might have just thought, oh, well, it's up at this one.
Game's over now. I've probably got my weekly shop every week from her, but game's over. So no, he obviously just payday came around, paid him what I owed him, because, you know, he had worked a little bit.
And you just never spoke about it?
And to this day, I've never spoke to him since. And I mean, touch wood, I've actually never seen him. Other people have seen him since. Obviously, I mean, they don't really know the full story.
Yeah.
Or, you know, wouldn't say anything to him. But yeah, he's never mentioned it. I've never mentioned it. Like I said, I was a pushover. So my confession is, I was a young, naive girl, and I'd like to think I've grown a little bit now. And if anyone listening to this that works for me now, get no ideas.
It's not going to happen.
I'm all over it now. But yeah, so that's my. So confession.
Your confession is that you are now inferior, and you are going to tell people how it is, and you will never let.
Backbone.
You've got a backbone.
There's no message. Do not come here for a job thinking you're going to take champagne.
And mine is, I'm still an idiot, and I still do things like this every single day.
Always make sure the door is closed when you leave a job.
I still don't. I still go off, and I'm like, go to the.
I've forgotten this.
I'll have to get one of them that go beep beep beep.
Yeah. Before you drive.
Yeah.
But no, like Elise said, obviously your business confessions or just day-to-day confessions in your job.
Yeah, have you got something juicy going on in the workplace? Someone having an affair.
Yeah, you're having an affair with your boss.
Oh, yeah.
And you want to anonymously announce it to the podcast. Do it.
Yeah, we want to hear.
We do. And
if you've made it this far again, it has been a bit of a ramble, but we are so happy, aren't we?
We really
over
are.
the moon. I hope this has worked. I feel like we're going to finish everyone.
After the other night, the 6 hours, and it not being on the laptop, like... I mean, we thought we were close to quitting before we even put that first episode out.
Yeah.
I've never been as close to quitting as I was this week.
I know, I keep testing stuff. I'm like, should we quit? And she's like, no.
Literally, they're like this close. You know, there's that meme and it's literally
how close am I to
close.
quitting? I'm like, if I had a bit of straw in my hand,
Yeah.
that's how thin.
Like
But
a little needle.
we've made
Yeah,
it
we
again.
have made it.
Hopefully, touch wood.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're really
Hopefully.
excited to get into the next episode, aren't we?
Yeah, and hopefully you'll join us for episode 3.
Absolutely.
What are we going to speak about in episode 3?
All about imposter syndrome, I think, isn't it?
Ooh, yeah, I like it. That's what
So-
someone asked us to speak about.
Yes, and I think it was really, really interesting because they said it's something that is really relatable in every industry, whether it's, you know, it's not just for people in business. Like, you can literally have it
A
in
hobby,
any job, you can have it in
career.
a hobby, in a club that you go to, literally anything. So we thought, you know what, we're going to dive into that a bit and how it affected us, how we dealt with it, how we still deal with it, because it's still ongoing, isn't it?
So if you have anything to discuss on imposter syndrome or a confession that you want to send in, do it.
It's all in the description box. Email, Instagram. We do voice notes, we do messages.
Anything
Any
you want.
way you want to get in touch with us. And just obviously make sure you let us know if you want to be anonymous or not.
Yeah, absolutely.
Episode 2, done and dusted.
See you next time.
Thanks so much for listening.
We're doing a little cheers.
Of course we are.
Woo!
Thanks, guys.